So the measurements of my envelopes are 7 inches by 3 inches. So I just stacked them all up. They're in a nice little pile and they all go right in. How to label them: you can get one of these cheap labelers. If you're planning on opening an Etsy shop, this might be a good investment. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. I'm Kate, and today I am going to be teaching you guys how to make cash envelopes. I do have another cash envelopes video on my channel, but it's a little outdated and I have a new technique now, so I wanted to recreate this video since so many people have been seeing that video lately. So since I have created some new techniques on how I make my envelopes, I just wanted to kind of give an updated video since a lot of things have changed. That was when I first started making them, and now I've been making them for quite a few months now, and I have my own Etsy shop linked in the description below where you can purchase cash envelopes or budgeting stickers. So I just wanted to make sure that I gave an updated video in case you were able to make them at home with your own supplies. I will show all the supplies that I use, and I'm going to also show the process on how I make them. Before I get started, make sure and give this video a thumbs up for me, and also make sure you subscribe to my channel if you don't want to miss out on my cash stuffing videos where I stuff the cash envelopes. Also, I do Etsy shop day in the lives where you can watch me make my orders and package them up and ship them. So make sure that you're subscribed to my channel before we start, and let's get into the video. Really quick, I just want to announce the winner of last week's giveaway is Elizabeth Liknens. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your last name right, but I'm going to pop your name up on the screen, and make sure that you send me a message on Instagram to get in touch with me so I can send you those envelopes. The first step is picking your paper. So I get all of my paper from Hobby Lobby, and I use the Paper Studio brand. Mostly every pad that I get is Paper Studio brand. I just love the quality. I can tell whether the paper is too thick by feeling it. Sometimes the brand has thicker paper that I'm not able to use because it's harder to laminate. But for the most part, if I just feel the paper when I'm in the store, I can tell if it's too thick. So now that I picked the paper, I ripped out the different pages that I'm going to be making my envelopes out of. And I like to use 12 by 12 paper because then I can make 2 envelopes per sheet. So now I have picked out 2 different sets of 10 that I will be making. One that I will be hole punching and one that I will not be hole punching, so you can see how I make each set. It's a little different when you have to hole punch them, so I will show you the extra work that goes into that. Now I'm going to get started cutting these, and I'm going to be using the Fiskars cutting board. I have one linked below in the description box. It's not the exact same one as this one because I can't find that model. This one's a little bit older, so I'm not sure if they make this exact model anymore. But I do love this cutting board, and all of my supplies will be linked below in the description box in case you're looking for any of the supplies that I mentioned throughout the video. I just wanted to make note of that. But now for cutting the first sheet of paper. So the measurements of my envelopes are 7 inches by 3 inches. So in order to make a 7-inch by 3-inch envelope, I need to cut a piece of paper that is 7 inches by 6 inches, and then I fold it in half. So this is what a final product looks like after it's laminated, and it has a label on it. And this cutting board in particular has a ruler across the top here, so right now I have it lined up at the 7, so that once I cut it, I know it'll be 7 inches, and I make sure that the bottom is lined up at the 7 too on the bottom, so that way it is straight. So I just cut it here, and now I just need to cut it in half so that each one will be 6 inches. So let me do that. So now I have these 2 envelopes here, and I'm going to finish cutting all of these. So at the end I will have 4 sets of envelopes, and then I will show you how I fold them. Got them all cut now, and now I'm going to start folding them. So all I do is, you have to make sure you fold them the right way because you want them to be 7 inches across the top and then 3 inches when you fold them in half. So just make sure you don't fold them the wrong way. And then you just make sure that you have it lined up perfectly and press down. Hopefully you can see this okay. I need to make sure that it's close enough to me so that I don't mess it up. And then after you fold it, sometimes they're a little bit off, so you just adjust it and crease it again. You might have to do it a few times until you're satisfied with the way it looks, and I always check the back just to make sure that it is creased properly on each side. So now I will go through and fold all of these, and then we will laminate them. So now that I have all of my envelopes folded, the other ones are flattening right now. I guess the next step would be to flatten them. So what I do is I just take 5 and 5 and I kind of flip them around so that the stack's flat and all the bends aren't on one side. And then I flatten them under something so that they are easier to laminate. The cotton candy set is the one that I'm going to be hole punching. So these ones need to be lined up properly in the laminate pouch. And I need to have enough space on each side of the envelope to be able to leave some extra lamination and hole punch it. So you leave a little space in between them when you put them in the pouch, and just make sure that they're spaced out properly. And then I'm going to put one of the pink ones on the bottom. This is the pink set that I folded, so this one does not need to be 3 hole punch, so that's why this one will go at the bottom. And the reason why you put the pink one at the bottom, since this set doesn't have to be hole punched, is because you can get it so that there's enough space to hole punch it at the bottom. You just have to put them really close together, and I don't really like doing that. So since I don't do that, there's not going to be enough room to hole punch this one. So I will put the pink ones on the bottom since those ones don't need a hole punch. I'm going to go through really quick and get all of my pouches ready to go, and then I will start laminating. And I use the Amazon Basics laminating pouches and the Amazon Basics laminator, which both of those will be linked down below in the description box. So now that I have all my laminating pouches ready, I let this warm up, and now that the green light is on, it is ready to laminate. This has 2 settings where you can turn it to the 3 mil or the 5 mil, depending on the thickness of your laminating pouches, but I use the 3 mil pouches, so that's what I'm going to be using, and I will send the first one through. Laminated them all, so I'm going to turn off my laminator and start cutting them. And the reason that I put this piece of paper underneath my laminator is just because the laminate pouches catch on the grains in the wood. So that's the reason, if you were wondering why I put that on there. So now to cut them, I start by cutting off the bottom pouch, and I just have to line it up perfectly. So you do not have to cut into the envelope at all. All you do is line it up perfectly to cut right on the edge, so you don't cut any of the paper off, but you just cut the laminate pouch. So now that I cut that one off, I will cut these 2 apart, and I'll do the same thing with just making sure I'm lining them up perfectly. So these 2 have extra lamination, so that way I can cut them to be able to 3 hole punch them. So what I do is I leave 3/4 of an inch left on the end, And I have my measuring tape here so I can see exactly where that mark is. So I line up the edge of the envelope with the 3/4 inch mark. And then I also cut the sides so that there's a little bit of lamination left on each side. You want to make sure that you cut far enough away from the seal that the envelope is not going to separate. So now I'm going to cut this side. So let me see if I can focus this. So hopefully you can see the seal will be a little line along the edge, and then you still leave just a little bit of space after the seal. So now this one is ready to 3-hole punch, and I will show you what I do with the one that I'm not going to 3-hole punch right here. So I do the same exact thing, except for I don't leave 3/4 of an inch. I just leave the same amount on the bottom as I do on the edges, so not as much. So I'll show you the hole punch one gets the 3/4 inch, and then this one just gets a tiny little bit left at the end so that the seal doesn't separate. So I finished cutting all of these, and I just wanted to show you, for the sake of the video, that they do come apart at the top. Sometimes after you're done laminating them, let me find one that is not quite apart and you have to pull it apart yourself. So here you will see that you have to kind of, sometimes you have to use your fingernail to separate them, and then they just come apart nicely. But you just don't want to cut into the paper because it's harder to cut through the paper with the paper cutter, and then sometimes you'll go crooked. There's no need to cut into the paper. It does come apart. If you just cut really close to the envelope, the seal will separate. So now that we have all of them cut, I'm just going to 3-hole punch this batch here that needs to be 3-hole punched. And I use the Agenda paper hole punch, and it's a 6-hole punch. I have it set to the personal desk vac setting. It does have different settings like Agenda 6, Pocket Mini, different settings. I think there's 3 different ones. So that's the one that I set it on. And then I will show you after I'm done hole punching, I'll show you them when you put them into a little binder. And you just want to make sure that you line it up perfectly and that it goes all the way to the back and that nothing's blocking it. This is the little agenda that I'm going to put them in. This is also Agenda 52 brand. And I'm just going to show you how the envelopes clip in nicely. So I just stacked them all up. They're in a nice little pile. And they all go right in. And then you can use this as your wallet. You can keep your cards on the side. And you can also have your money in your envelopes. So I do have the option to add a hole punch to your envelope. If you're looking on my shop, I charge an extra $2.50 for that, just because it takes a little more work with cutting them and hole punching them and lining them just up in the laminate pouch. But just in case you're wondering about that, that's how much I charge. And then last but not least, if you're wondering how to label them, you can get one of these cheap labelers. If you're planning on opening an Etsy shop, this might be a good investment. It's only, I think, like $20 to $30. If you're just labeling them for yourself, you might not want to spend the money on that. But this is the label maker that I use, and it is Brother brand. It will be linked in the description box below, and it's very easy to use. So I just print my labels out on here, and then you can stick them in whatever corner you want or in the center and label them groceries, gas, anything you want to for budgeting. So that's what I do for my labels. That is going to be all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope it taught you how to make cash envelopes. If you have any questions, you can of course leave them down in the comment box below, and I'd love to answer them for you. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up before you leave, and make sure you're subscribed to my channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!